just below the level of chess professional. A man has to know his limitations. What does this mean? Well, join me, Andrew Martin, for the BCM Game of the Month for February 2016. I've got an absolute crackerjack of a game for you this month, and it comes from the Four Nations Chess League. That's the English Professional League, and it features a Guildford clubmate of mine, the veteran international master Nigel Povah, playing white, and he's playing the very promising young player from Oxford, Pavel Asenov. And it features an opening which is something of an English speciality, the Trompowsky attack, d4 knight f6, bishop g5. Now, of course, this opening is named after a rather obscure Brazilian player, Octavio Trompowsky, who played it back in the 1930s and 1940s. We know the Trompowsky from the efforts of players such as Verganyen, Julian Hodgson in particular, and Mickey Adams, who played it frequently and with enormous success back in the 1980s and 1990s, where they basically exploited black's lack of knowledge to win a lot of tremendously exciting and original games. And that's what attracts many players to this opening even today, even though there's, of course, a lot more theory developed on the Trompowsky than there was even in the 90s and the early 2000s. Nigel Povah, well, he is a man with a lot of responsibilities, a lot on his mind. He owns his own company, he's got a great family. He finds himself in the same position in Western culture of many people, I think. They've got a lot of responsibilities, but they love chess, how to make the best of what they have. So Nigel has basically tailored his opening repertoire to his own specifications. He narrows the field of what he has to learn so that, you know, he can specialise in various openings like the Trompowsky or other things. I'm not going to give away exactly what he plays, but basically he closes down a lot of his opponent's opportunities by narrowing the field. And I think that's the way that a lot of busy people can still succeed in chess and achieve a very high level. And he certainly knows the Trompowsky very well, as we're about to see in this game. Now, Asenov is a young man. He's bold. He knows no fear. He challenges White's opening head-on with c5, and Povah moves forward confidently with d5. And this leads to a variation of the Trompowsky known as the Verganyen Gambit. It was Rafael Verganyen all those years ago that won a couple of really smashing games with this variation. I remember one against Jansa in particular, where he crushed black off the board. White offers a pawn. It looks like it's not sound because he has to retreat his Trompowsky bishop. But the game picks up pace now in the centre with the key move e4 and White's threatening e5, as you can see, which is quite dangerous. I mean, I don't think black wants to allow that move. So Asenov decides to stop it. He could stop it with d6, of course, by playing e5. And now one of the key moves of the Verganyen Gambit, White moves forward in the centre with f4. I think White does this more or less all the time in this line. And it's a move designed to put maximum pressure on black before he can get his pieces out. So Asenov plays d6. And now we reach a position where White has to make a very important choice. How is he going to develop his initiative to best effect? Well, Nigel, in fact, actually probably plays a small imprecision in move order here by playing his rook to b1. Before I consider that move, I want to actually take a look at what I consider to be one of the best moves here, f5. I'm slightly surprised that Nigel didn't play this move. Maybe there are some antidotes that black knows against it. But it is a direct challenge to black's system. White cramps black and starts the idea of a kingside pawn storm. And just to show you how effective this move can be, let's quickly consider the game Eric Priet, another Trompowsky connoisseur, French grandmaster, versus Tripletot, played in France in 2012, where White carried out his plan almost effortlessly, pushing the kingside pawns forward to deny black space, and eventually g5 is coming. It can't be stopped. So black played h5, Priet played rook b1, the queen retreated, and now g5. Knight came into g4, and White played bishop e2. And it's this type of position that, you know, I find very uncomfortable for black personally. And I think you have to be so precise in defence in this line that the move f5 really puts the question to black's entire setup. So a6 was played, a4 by pre-8 restraining, and now black tries to break free with g6. Pre-8 takes off the knight and plays f6. Very straightforward play, and then he develops his knight to e2. So this is all about playing the move h5. The knight's coming to g3, and then white can get on with his plan. Trippeteau played c4, white went knight g3, queen to c5, and now a very interesting move and an excellent move, king to e2. Not the first move that comes to mind, but pre-8 is making room for his queen to enter the game. For instance, if we imagine a sequence like h5, the queen can come to f1 and join in the assault on black's king side. So Trippeteau played bishop a5, white went h5, all very fast, and before black gets his queenside pieces out, black played rook to g8, in came the knight to g7, and now the move that was prepared by king e2, queen to f1. This is such a straightforward game, it's very easy to understand for players of all levels. Basically, black is being denied any play at all. So knight f5. If black takes it, the queen comes into f5 with crunching effect. So black retreated. In came the rook. Black played the desperate move g3, bishop e3, queen a3, queen h3, and black resigned. There are simply too many threats for him to cope with. Just to take you through one of the lines, if black takes the knight, or we can take on f7 straight away, but queen takes f5 is just completely crushing. And there are so many threats that black can't deal with them all. If he goes king e8, we go check, and then rook takes b7, game over. So when you see a game like that, you know, it makes you wonder, you know, why anybody would play this variation for black. But Nigel is basically an attacking player. He's always been a guy who seeks the initiative. So he plays the opening in a slightly different way by playing the immediate rook to b1. Now the reason this is an imprecision is that this position is all about the e5 pawn. And what white should do is to play the knight to f3 straight away. That hits e5. Black's probably got to play knight b7. Now taking on e5 and rook b1 is the correct move order. We'll see why in a minute as we go back to the game. Rook to b1. Asenov played queen to c7. And the thing is now, he doesn't have to play knight bd7. So when Povah takes on e5 as he did and play knight f3, black should now play a6. Not knight bd7. That's the difference. And that's a key move because it keeps the white knight out of b5, which is a very useful attacking idea, as we're going to see a little later on in this game. So perhaps Nigel played slightly imprecisely at this point, but Asenov redresses the balance by playing knight bd7, and now white moves on confidently with knight to b5. And as you can see, his initiative is building. So when I said Nigel likes fluid play, he likes aggressive play, basically he chooses f takes e5 and play of this manner because he likes playing with his pieces against the black position. And already, as you can see, black is being set difficult problems. Queen goes back to b8. Well, it could be that the counterintuitive move, queen to b6, is probably best here. And of course, that's the invitation for white to take a draw. If white wants to weedily take a draw here, he can just repeat with knight a3, queen c7, and then knight b5. I don't think black can deviate. The question is, after knight a3, queen c7, has white got anything better? Well, I don't think white can force his way through against the black position. So probably the best move here is a move like c4. Just to continue cramping black and claim that white's got sufficient compensation for the pawn, which he probably has. But of course, as highlighted, you've got a little bit of redeployment to do with your knight on a3. Well, I'm probably guessing that Asenov was out of his theory here. So it's difficult to play a move like queen b6. Hence, queen to b8. And now Povah again moves in with the excellent d6. Now, that looks like the most obvious move in the world until we realise that black can actually take that pawn. So perhaps it's not so obvious after all. It's worth noting here that if white goes bishop a5, then black can meet this quite easily with b6. And if d6 now, which again looks very plausible, black has knight takes e4. Sacrificing the exchange, yes, but after queen takes a8, black has tremendous compensation because white's got to retreat his bishop, and now black can take on d6 with the knight. I really like black here, and it's a good example of how quickly white can get into trouble in this line if he plays imprecisely. The problem for white is black's massive centre is coming straight down on white's head. So if he plays bishop e2, let's say, black hits immediately with e4, and he's got a very strong attack himself. So going back to the game, that's exactly what Nigel doesn't want to happen. Hence d6, and Asenov takes up the challenge with bishop takes d6. Bishop a5 now. And this is the key follow-up really, forcing black to defend the bishop on d6. Now the first point of this move is that if black plays king e7, which as you can see is pretty uncomfortable, now comes knight g5. A very good move indeed. Eyeing f7, if black plays knight e8 here, white has bishop c4, which is awkward for black. And if he goes rook f8, I mean, white's threatening to take twice on d6, then take on f7, winning the rook in the corner. Black's got to do something about that. Then I think we've got a nice move here. Knight takes f7. Black must take with the rook. We take on d6. Queen takes d6, and now this lovely move, bishop d8 check. Very nice combination, and of course this wins outright because black's queen is going down the drain. So Asenov has got a lot to think about here. He chopped on e4. Knight to g5. Well, white is trying to undermine black's entire piece position in the centre. The knight on e4 and the bishop on d6 look very shaky. And Asenov played knight df6, trying to hold things together. If he takes on g5, obviously this is going to give white a massive attack after knight takes d6. I'm not actually sure black can come back from this one, frankly. His position is just too undeveloped. First of all, he's got the problem of where he's going to put his king. I mean, if he goes king f8, let's say, then h4 is just a very strong move. And when the knight moves, bishop c4. I mean, anybody could see black is in absolutely awful shape here. If he plays b6, we just take on e6 and castle. It looks like a sort of king's gambit gone wrong. And of course, black is getting annihilated. So just running that one more time. Take on g5, take on d6 check. That only leaves king e7. And then I think knight f5 check is the best way to play this position. With a very unenviable position for black. I mean, what does he do? If he goes king f8, the bishop penetrates to d8. This sort of variation is full of these very nice effects. You know, I like this move, bishop d8, hitting the knight on g5. And if knight e4, bishop c4, white's attack just proceeds on oiled wheels. And black is in terrible shape. So probably after knight takes d6, king e7, knight f5, black's got to wander out to f6. Then I think we just retreat the knight and leave black in a mess. If black tries to unravel, well, we can play h4, we can chop on b6, bring the queen in, h4, black is getting pulverised. So we can see immediately why Asenov didn't do that. He brought his knight to f6, and now Povah played nicely. He took on e4 and brought his queen into d5. Again, reminding black that he's got very insecure pieces in the centre. And what are you going to do about it? So black is in a real mess. I mean, maybe he can defend this, but it's incredibly difficult. So Asenov kicks off with the best move anyway, a6. This is the best hope. And Nigel continues with his very straightforward play. This is a feature of his style. When he gets an attacking position, he seeks a clear-cut way of resolving the position. He takes on d6 check, and black takes back with the knight. Now this may have seemed like an opportunity to bail out here for black by taking on d6 with the queen. Queen takes e4 and then castle. At least here you get your king to safety, and you've got 3 pawns for the piece. The problem for black here is the activity of white's pieces. And rook b6 for starters just jams up the entire queen side. If he plays queen d4, bishop d3, and black cannot untangle. The white pieces are crawling all over him before he gets the chance to get his own pieces going. Hence, the 3 pawns don't mean very much, and after bishop e4, black is completely tied down. Probably b7 is just dropping in the next couple of moves. And after that, the entire queen side. So going back to the game, Pavel doesn't like that, understandably. He takes with the knight, and now rook d1. Another very nice move. Black has very serious problems. His pieces are in a terrible mess. What can he do? Well, okay, your knight's attacked. What can you do? He tried king e7 in the game. Clearly that's not very nice. Can he do better? Well, he can try bishop g4. And it's unlikely that that's going to work. I mean, white can play straightforwardly here by taking on d6 and then playing bishop c7. This alone puts me off the variation. But maybe just after bishop g4, rook d2 is okay. And if knight f5, just take on c5, keeping the black king stuck in the centre. And if knight e7, bishop c4. Again, black is in an awful mess. All the white pieces are streaming out. And black hasn't moved the rook yet. So that can't be good. What else can he do? b6. Well, bishop c3. And again, this leaves black with extreme difficulties. Because not only is white attacking the pawn on e5, he's attacking the knight. So it's possible that king e7, going back to the game, is the only move. But now queen takes c5. Nigel continues with very clear-cut play. And of course now there's the crushing threat of bishop to c7. So b6 was Pavel's only move. White takes it, retaining all threats. And now this awful but forced move here, king to d7. Bishop d3. The threat, easily seen. Bishop f5 check. White plays black plays e4. White takes it with the bishop. Rook comes to e8. Is black getting out of this? No. Queen c6 check. The king goes to e7, unfortunately blocking the rook. And now rook takes d6. Very forcing, and I think best. But it's worth pointing out here that bishop c5 is also good. But rook takes e6 is the move the crowd wants to play. Bishop b7. By now I think Pavel must have known he was lost. King goes to f8. And now another very nice effect by Nigel. He leaves the queen where it is. He castles. Very nice indeed. Bishop takes c6. Rook f takes f7. And black resigned. A lovely game. And of course it's force mate in 7 moves. Let's just see those moves. The king goes to g8. Rook takes g7 check. King goes in the corner. Rook takes h7 check. Again, the white attack runs on completely oiled wheels. And then this beautiful finish. Bishop c5 check. He has to block with the rook. Bishop takes e7 check. And then this lovely mate with the 2 bishops. Spectacular finish. So well done to Nigel. And very much a Trompovsky along the lines of the type of game Vaganian and Hodgson used to produce back in the 1990s. And a very good advert for the opening. You know, although there's still a lot of theory on the Trompovsky, it can still lead to uncharted territory. And Pavel shouldn't feel too bad about this. I mean, he played very courageously in the opening. He took white on, but he wasn't able to withstand the tremendous attack that Nigel put forward. Well, I hope you enjoyed this entertaining game, and I look forward to the pleasure of your company next month.